Yo, what up? It's Flinchwave here with a bit of a different video. Instead of some gameplay or anything like that, it's actually just going to be more of a discussion. And the topic of the discussion, as you could probably tell from the title of the video, is Lucario and Lucario's place within the metagame. Now, before I start talking, I wanted to give you a bit of context as to who I am. Especially, this is the first time you actually see me because in previous videos I'd just always not included to choose my face. I'm gonna go ahead and decline that really quick because we're just gonna have a chat. So, what is the issue with Lucario? The issue with Lucario right now is that everyone thinks he's either broken or he needs a nerf or he should be removed entirely from the game. I've even heard of. Um, but basically, all of these issues revolve around the fact that people think he's unbalanced. Um, but I'm here to try to dispel all of these misconceptions by trying to explain from my perspective. My perspective being a top 100 ranked Lucario player. I have 1397 wins with him, 51% rank, sorry, 51% win rate. And then in terms of the rankings, I'm not super high, but I'm in the top 5,000, 4,572. Among my friends, I'm third by a game or two between me and a couple other guys. Um, Praise 883rd in the world, score 819. So, not very good win streaks, but who cares about that? That's just luck. But the whole point is that I'm a pretty experienced player within Pokemon Unite. I've been around since roughly the Blissey patch. That was around 3 days before Gengar's Hex was nerfed the first time, the very first time back when it was broken. Um, so I have a lot of context here. The other thing I wanted to include about why maybe my perspective is a bit broader than others is that, well, two things. First of all, I received training from none other than TTV Lutano, the member of Team TTV, who's the best Lucario player in the world, and he gave me all the tips when I was coming up. Go try him on metafy.gg, but that's for another time. Promotions aside. Um, so I know the ins and outs of the character, and in addition, because I've been around so long, I've actually managed to play all of the builds. So that would be Extreme Speed with Bone Rush, Power Up Punch with Bone Rush, Extreme Speed with Close Combat, and Power Up Punch with Close Combat. I currently play Extreme Speed with Close Combat. That's just my favorite play style. But the point is that you actually don't know a full character's kit or the extent of their kit until you've actually gone in and played like 100 matches minimum with each build, and I have well over that as I've already shown you from my record with Lucario. So let's start. Let's in the background here. I'm just gonna have like a practice game going, just so you can have something to watch other than my face here. Um, and it'll actually help illustrate some points once some time goes by. So the big issues with Lucario, mostly what people have with him, is that he's an early game bully, but at the same time, if you pick the right set, in fact, almost all four sets really have the capability of this because Extreme Speed will snipe. Don't you believe otherwise? You can definitely snipe with Extreme Speed, but obviously Power Up Punch and Close Combat are very very good tools for catching last hits on things. So, what does that mean? If you can get a last hit on something and you're an early game bully rather, because most of the time you're going to be playing Lucario in the lane, realistically. But yeah. So where do you fall off? Because all characters, for the most part, they're supposed to fall off at some point. Like, whether it's the early game, the mid game, or the late game. And the argument that people make with Lucario is that he never falls off. He's always super involved with the game, in terms of like being able to affect it. Because if it's not early games farm stealing, it's something else. If it's in the mid game and getting sniping a dreadnought with power up punch, or getting a rotom from afar with your ult, say. And then same thing at Zapdos. The snipe potential, especially with your ult having such a long range, is pretty high. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, and it has like a quite of a long bit of a wind up period. But that aside, I will admit that it's a good tool for these sorts of situations. But this is where we start running into some of the issues with the misconceptions, because you'll have people, people will have you believe that, oh, he's exceptionally broken, and that, no other character can do what he can do. And while that may be true, the reasoning of like, oh, well, that makes him broken is still wrong. And here's why. None of what he does is actually, he's a jack of all trade, but not like a master of none in a way. Because if you ask the questions of like, okay, well, who's the best at securing early lane farm? It's actually not Lucario, it's Snorlax. Snorlax is very, very good because tackle plus his basic boosted, it creates a knockup effect, and it's just very, very hard to counter. If you're trying to steal from a well played Snorlax, you're gonna have a bad time early lane. So, okay, he's not the best at early lane stealing. Well, what about mid game snipes and mid game picks in terms of like killing opponents? You'd argue Cinderace, Venusaur with Petal Dance, even Greninja probably do that job better. Uh, in terms of like the early game picks, having that strength, being able to affect the game. Okay, so he's not the strongest at that. What about late game snipes? Like, in the late game, who's the strongest? Well, despite the nerfs, it's probably Dragonite. Why? Because Hyper Beam is ridiculous and can take things down from very, very high HP. So, what is Lucario the best at? Well, not anything really, other than having all of these things in one kit. And that's why people occasionally think, or not occasionally, very often think, oh, he's broken, oh, he needs all kinds of nerfs and stuff like that. But the reality is, there's not been a character in this game that's been nerfed harder than Lucario from the beginning. That's probably justified, however, because realistically, Lucario upon release, which I didn't even get to play that much really, because back when I started the game, I was a Zeraora main, if you'd believe it. Well, basically, that means that I didn't play the full version of Lucario, but I played against it. And what it really comes down to is that Power Punch was way stronger than it is now. Nowadays, it's like, yeah, it's a big chunk of damage. It can stun people and things like that, but it used to just drop people. And the scaling used to be even more ridiculous, meaning that if you had attack weight on it, then it was going to be doing even more damage, etc., etc., etc. So, what else has been nerfed? His shield used to be bigger. It used to activate more often. It used to be activate every 30 seconds. Now it's only every minute. The shield, of course, being steadfast, which is the attack-based shield that he gets as his passive ability. Okay, so that's been nerfed. What else has been nerfed? Meteor Mash, his early game move. It used to do more damage and create more of a stun. Doesn't do that anymore. Why? They thought it was too strong. Extreme Speed used to do more damage. Why? Because, well, the developers originally thought, 200 and, what was it, 50% scaling was fine on the ability, but they cooled it down to like 220. Power Punch was actually nerfed a second time. Now the only move, and then Bone Rush hasn't really been touched, but it's kind of been fine, because the reality is that it doesn't do a lot of damage, and the main purpose of Bone Rush is to reset either Extreme Speed or Power Punch. So, what does that leave us? That means that there's only one ability that hasn't been touched, and it was the most recent ability to be buffed, actually. And that's close combat. Close combat used to not heal you, and you used to not be unstoppable when you would use it. Now, if you look at any other character, and you told me that they did that many nerfs over the course of this game's life, which isn't that long, and you said it was broken, wouldn't you think that's a little silly? If they did this to Absol, if they did this to Venusaur, if they did this to Cinderace, would you think that they were broken if they acquired this many nerfs? Can't believe I let them get the dread there. I mean, this is a practice match. I don't really care, but you always want to like stomp. Anyway, um, no, I don't think you would. Has Lucario's nerfs been at the level of like when Sylveon got nerfed in this game, when Serena got nerfed, even when Dragonite got nerfed recently? No, no, they didn't completely wreck the character's kit, but the reality is that pretty much every patch they decide to nerf Lucario in some way, shape, or form. People will argue, oh, but they buff him in other ways. That's not really true. Okay, the one time that was true was with the close combat buff. But other than that, it's usually been like, oh, they buffed, they nerfed Power Punch. That means that everyone uses Extreme Speed now. That doesn't mean they buffed Extreme Speed. It's just it was untouched, so more people used Extreme Speed at that point in time. And vice versa. When they touch Extreme Speed, people would tend to go Power Punch. There's also meta shifts that happen where it's like back when Dragonite was super crazy, a lot of people were very team fight oriented, and they would want the heavier secure. Obviously, it's no Hyper Beam, especially unnerfed Hyper Beam, but Power Punch it has has more than enough power and capability to snipe. So it's sniping anything, by the way, whether that's kills, early farm, Zapdos, Dreadnought, you name it. Because you're unstoppable when you do the punch. Yeah, that's the other thing. So, some people argue, well, part of it is that, like, his abilities, they're granting him too much. Like, the attack shield is too high. Well, they nerf that. Okay, well, maybe not that. Then maybe, it has to do with the attack scaling. They nerfed that. Okay, so what's left? Basically, the one other issue is that I can name before I just kind of dismiss it as a whole is that there wasn't another good top laner for a long time, but nowadays Machamp is completely viable. Serena's still viable to a certain extent. I've seen Blastoise do it. I've seen Snorlax do it. There are other top laners, so that's no longer an argument either of why is Lucario broken. But the the reality is that he's not broken. It's just that people don't know how to play against him and assume that the play style is brain dead or requires no skill. But that's probably the silliest thing of it all, is that people really think that when you play Lucario, you aren't doing skill shots, or um you're not using your head, basically. And nothing could be further from the truth. Anyone who's seen my uploaded play before has seen exactly the kind of planning I have to do, no matter what set I'm playing. I mean, lately I've been playing one set, but I'll actually show in the practice match as well, in the next practice here, a Power Punch and Bone Rush, just to give you an idea of what I mean here. Because I've already kind of showcased it well, I'll explain it too, but in a second. That's a pretty good one. So that's actually my biggest grievance against the whole Lucario's broken thing, is people say that it takes no skill. How could you really say that when it's actually it's one of the skill heaviest characters out there, because it's ability based. With Cinderace, you just A press, A press, A press. You're just like occasionally spamming abilities like to pop in and out, if it's like Blaze Kick or flame charge. You're using that. That takes skill. But other than that, you're just A pressing, A pressing, A pressing. Decidueye, Greninja, same story. Um, you know, with someone like Wigglytuff, like a lot of the time, it's just like, you run into them, you sing, and then you hope for back. You hope for like follow up. Uh, or you drop your Dazzling Gleam or double slap on them too to help with the damage. But with Lucario, you are not an A presser. If you try to A press someone with Lucario, usually the Lucario will die. Why? Because maybe in a 1v1 situation, the knock up and the extra hit, okay, by one-on-one situation, I mean, for whatever reason, both characters are on cooldown and they're just basic attacking. Maybe there could be a little bit of an advantage there because, you're causing a stun, but other characters have better boosted attack stuns, such as Venusaur. Um, so it's not really ideal, and he doesn't have the quickest burn time in the world either. So what that means is that these basic attacks aren't doing a whole ton of damage either. So what is Lucario based on? Lucario is based on well-timed abilities. So for example, Meteor Mash here. If I can hit both monkeys, but I purposely waited there just to show you how easy it is. Oh, they were just a little bit spread apart. Suddenly I didn't hit both monkeys. For example, I can hit both right here, but I have to time it. See? To get the damage off on both of them, you really need to line things up. It's very easy to miss. Same with quick attack. Like, if I'm a little bit off, I'll show you right here. No damage. So it's not just press A, because it's like, if I just pressed right there and it gave you snapback, it gave me snapback. You have to actually be very well timed and like constantly aiming your stuff. So as soon as I get level 5, I'll show you something else with extreme speed. With extreme speed, for example, it's like boom, boom, boom. Oh, everyone knows like you can get all the Bs. But if you miss any one of those extreme speeds, and especially, God forbid, the first one, no combo. See? I'm stuck A pressing here. They were already low, but you get the picture. So people will constantly point to the gameplays of like, Lucario beats up like it's 1v5 and like he just takes everyone down without realizing that like a lot of that has to do with the fact that that player was a very good player. He had to really time all of those extreme speeds because it's not just, oh, you missed the first one, but if you only get one extreme speed per 10 seconds on each target unless you reset it with Bone Rush or your ultimate. What does that mean? That means if you extreme speed twice on the same target, you can't extreme speed again. The combo is over. So if you're trying to do one of those crazy gameplays, where you're taking down like 5 people, you need to be timing every single extreme speed. Like, okay, that guy, then that guy, then that guy, then that guy, then the B, then go to the first guy. You have to really, really, really be timing. Because if you don't, you're going to mess it up. And again, if you're just stuck A pressing, especially against a team, you're dead. You're just dead. See right there, like I missed the second extreme speed, and if that Serena wasn't a bot right there, probably would have gotten me. Why? Because she can shield up, she can heal, she can be moving me around and stuff. If she was stomped, you can stun me a little bit, like all of that stuff. And another thing people point out too, it's like, okay, well then maybe it's like power up punch and close combat. Those are the broken abilities. Because okay, Bone Rush isn't crazy. It does so little damage. It does so little damage that it's really, and the push is very minimal. Like in fact, the push is sometimes works against you because you push someone away and all of a sudden they're a little bit too far out of extreme speed range, so, or power punch range in some cases, so you have to walk a little bit towards them, and sometimes in the middle of a fight, like walking a little bit costs you the dreadnought or whatever it might be, or there might be somebody in a bush or someone gets you, if you have to walk even a little bit further versus like if it was if it got you right in the range that you needed, then I would argue like okay, maybe maybe it has like a lot of like um good use without damage. It does still have really good use because resets are super important, um it took a lot for Bone Rush not to be run. Now it's probably the inferior ability, despite the fact that like it gives you all the resets because close combat just does so much damage. Um, and because of the fact that Power Up Punch is also reset with how many hits you land on someone, that means that the 11 hits from close combat effectively reset Power Up Punch for you. So let's examine those abilities a bit more. Well, first close combat because I have it. First and foremost, this was not a used ability before they buffed it because before you would just um basically you'd get CC'd in the right at the start of it and it was over. You'd get stunned out of it and you could do big damage, but you'd usually have to like run full heal with it and you'd full heal right before you landed close combat, so it was like basically the cooldown was the cooldown of full heal, which was terrible. So like, why would you bother with that ability? And it didn't heal you, and obviously it healed you a bit more before they hot nerfed it in like what 2 days, 1 day, something like that. But regardless, the healing's still there because um with extreme speed alone, another thing they nerfed extreme speed's healing factor. It used to heal you more. Um, with the healing factor on extreme speed nerfed, that means that you can't heal back up to full health off of bees anymore, unless you also run close combat, because then you can just e-speed through all of the bees and then close combat the big bee, and you pretty much get to full health from pretty much no health. And that takes skill because like again, you can't be missing anything. Um, if they're attacking you while this happens, like if enemies are attacking you while that's going on, snapback. Then it's not gonna work. Uh, multitude of factors can happen um, with the ability. So and let's not forget that it wasn't even really a used ability before they buffed it because of the issues it had. So, but let's talk about it now. So now the healing, it used to be off of per enemy hit, and that was a little bit broken because you could just heal off to full health from bees, like no matter how low you were in one ability. A little nutty. We all know that like anything that heals you off to full health off of bees is probably broken. As if anyone remembers, Giga Drain off of Venusaur used to do that. They nerfed Giga Drain as a result, so it makes sense. Um, but this isn't the broken ability because it CCs you. Uh, so if you miss this, you're really in trouble because like okay, suddenly you're in your little pose and you're just a sitting duck for like a couple of seconds while the attack finishes, and we're assuming you missed here, so they got out of the way, so they have nothing to worry about. They can just attack you, especially if they're poking you with like a character like Cinderace, Decidueye, Greninja. Um, so let's talk about the last ability then, Power Up Punch. We're gonna probably have to wait for the end of this game, or I could probably just finish it up. Just yeah. Uh, yeah, just leave that there. Power Up Punch. So, why is this ability not broken? This one's the hardest one to justify because I'll admit the secures off of Power of Punch are crazy. You're unstoppable when you do it at when it gets upgraded at level 11. If you're running close combat plus Power Up Punch, that means both of your abilities after level 11 make you unstoppable. Um, so what's my reasoning as to why it's not broken? And well, my main reasoning is the fact that like it doesn't do the damage that you think it does. Or rather, if it does, it has to be done in a perfect combo, and I'll show you in practice. Um, the difference between a charged punch and an uncharged punch, and all that basically. So, first and foremost, if you don't charge Power Up Punch all of the way, it does significantly less damage. I'll show you the numbers in a second. And secondly, if you don't get the boosted basic attack afterwards, it's also less damage. So you have to always A press after your Power Up Punch. Like this is some skill involved here. Um, and lastly, a lot of those big power up punches that you might have seen in a video actually is the power up punch after your ult, which is boosted by 20%. And sometimes on top of that, people will boost it further with, attack weight, X attack, what have you. So we're just gonna go into practice level up. Okay, so you see that? That's 1,135. Okay, that's a good amount of damage, but remember that was charged all the way. Did I get it there? 1,035? I might have accidentally had it over the line. Let's just tap it. 1,996. That can't be right. Hold up. Okay, we're not letting it heal all the way. Give us a second. See? 622. That's paltry. Compared to 1197. So, first and foremost, you have to be sitting there like this until at least that amount of time, which you're slowed during. You're slowed down when you do this. So if you're chasing someone with power up punch and you don't have anything like, X speed or an L, like for example, X speed, makes you a little bit faster while you're doing that, or like an Eldegoss helping you out with Leaf Tornado or something like that. You're slowed down. You're probably not gonna catch the person because okay, the range is decent, but it's not crazy. It's kind of just like a little bit longer than extreme speed, and that's not a whole crazy amount of distance. So when you're in the zap pit, for example, when you're charging up a power punch, you have a limited amount of time because like if I wait too long, it goes on cooldown for 2 seconds, and those could be crucial 2 seconds. So that's the first problem. The second problem is while I'm unstoppable, I still take damage. So if there's a lot of burst damage going on, I can just die while I'm charging that. So those are those two things dispelled about power up punch. Then lastly, it's not the best secured in the world because okay, while you're invincible and stuff, it doesn't do as much damage as something like Hyper Beam. It doesn't do as much damage as even like Solar Beam or Brave Bird, for example. So, it's hard to believe that it has to be the most broken. This is the most broken Pokemon because we've now gone over every single ability and more or less dispelled why each are broken from pretty much every angle. Like at exhaustion, this is probably like a 30 minute video by now. Wow. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts, and I could keep going, but realistically, I think I've covered all my bases here. Oh, the all important ult. Some people would even argue that Lucario's ult is the worst part of his kit, but I've heard some people say, "Oh, snipe potential. Like he's a melee character. He shouldn't have something so far away as an option." Well, first and foremost, it does way more damage up close than from far away. I'll show you here. Okay, so that's 2,920. Taking off move cooldowns. Whoops. From far away. Let's see how much damage. 1,317. Or 3,715. Can't be. We must not have let it cool down. Because I know for a fact this does less damage from far. So we're going to see that one. It didn't hit it. Whoops. 743. So my huge, oh, I can steal from like over here, get a Zapdos. I need to time that at not only the perfect second, because you see that wind up, but like also the perfect amount of damage and pray that everyone's stuck on basic attacks and can't, um, can't hit it with anything harder, because like if you hit something at the same time as someone else with the Zapdos, it'll usually take whoever hit hardest at the same time. So that's literally every part of his kit now. And as far as items go, there's slow smoke meta right now, and there's people who, oh, by the way, this is the example of the charged up punch. I'm gonna show you on the substitute doll how this does a lot more. Just in case, we're gonna pop that again. So say 2,467. I know I'm level 9 now, so it's a bit hard to show, so I'll just compare that to a regular 1,430. So you see it's a lot more. 3,000. Okay, I hit the sweet spot there. I think that's the thing. Or no, I didn't let it heal all the way. Hold up. 1,430. Okay. Compared to like 2,000, crazy. So yeah, that's more or less every part of the kit. That's the little knock up I was talking to you guys about. The whole like you need to power up punch and then, A press. I'll turn on cooldowns to also illustrate the other thing about power up punch and close combat resetting each other. See? The power up punch is right back up. So you can slow smoke someone, power up punch them, close combat them, then power up punch them again, and then if you're really crazy, you'll ult, and then that's gonna reset it again because that's 4 hits, and then you get the big punch, so you could really take down like a whole bunch of people. But that takes skill. That takes a lot of skill because I'm not sure if they've patched this bug out yet, but there used to be a bug where occasionally power up punch will do 0 damage if the person is knocked up. I've seen it happen with Greedent's Covet. If Greedent is coveting and you try to power up punch him, it does 0 damage, basically. It's called a zero pup in the competitive community, at least. And it may or may not still be a problem, but the fact that like people will argue that this is the broken ability, when for a long time like it had this bug where it would do 0 damage, ridiculous. So that's every part of the kit. That's every part of Lucario. So here's my closing sentiment. I came mostly from Pokemon Showdown. That's my other big video game experience. And there's a Pokemon in the OU tier, the highest usage tier, or basically like the high tier, where everything but the most broken things are allowed, called Landorus T. And if you're familiar with, competitive Pokemon or Pokemon Showdown, Smogon, all that, then you'll know that Landorus T is not only a very popular Pokemon, but has been the most popular Pokemon since it came out, more or less. But it's not broken. And people will say, well, why, if it's a 52% usage and it can do everything and it can do whatever it wants, play however it wants, well, how is it not broken? In the same way Lucario is not broken. Because it takes skill to do these things. Even if people think that it doesn't, I've illustrated over the last 30, 40 minutes how and why it takes skill to do these things, where you can mess up, and situationally sometimes what you have to pick what might be better, unless you have a play style that you play with, and you're the best with this play style, and no matter what your enemy is, you're gonna play in one particular way because you know how to take down any given enemy with what you have, which might be a little bit arrogant, because realistically you should try to change things up based on your situation. But it's also understandable if you have a favorite build, and sometimes there's not really that much of a difference. I can't illustrate it on the substitute dummies, but level per level, as long as you have the same amount of attack weight stacks and all of that, One power-up punch boosted is the same damage as extreme speed with the little twirl. Oh yeah, that's this is probably one last thing in the practice match actually. Extreme speed with the twirl and without the twirl. People think that this is automatic, but they don't understand that you're actually doing a lot of things when this happens. When you're going over the bees, you are pressing a lot of buttons. You are pressing the R button with the A button in succession to get the spin off. And if you're not trying to get the spin on the extreme speed, which I'll show you right here, the difference in damage and all of that, it can be a significant difference. Not only is extreme speed with the spin more powerful, it takes slightly longer. You're almost auto CC'd for a second. So you have to think about carefully, like, am I trying to just get out of here? So for example, just like the one without the spin, 805 damage, and I probably healed like 95, something like that. Versus let's let it rest, 972. Because it says basic attack damage because the little spin's considered a basic attack. So as you can see, or wait, what? Versus just pressing. I'm just waiting for the cooldown. Just pressing. And that's a very subtle difference. If I'm trying to run through the jungle through the crabs, for example, like, I need to be pressing no twirl. If I'm trying to kill things, I need to press it with the twirl. For example, there, when I do the bees, it's always with the twirl. But if I'm just trying to get away from her, like, no cooldown. I'm gonna run around here, let her chase me. I'm just trying to get away from her, just without the spin, because it takes slightly less time, basically. See, when I was trying to kill her, twirl. So 2 extreme speeds with the twirl, level per level, assuming same attack weight stacks, is the same damage as 1 power-up punch boosted. As long as it's not the one that's boosted after your ult, because that one does more damage. And in fact, if you don't charge up the power-up punch, it's like 1.5 extreme speeds does more damage. So that's just extreme speed, with like maybe a couple basic attacks does more damage than an uncharged power-up punch. So the damage difference isn't huge between the two main abilities. We already mentioned Bone Rush doesn't do a lot of damage, and it's mostly about the resets, because, at Bone Rush Plus, after you teleport back to your bone, you get another reset. Should I show that? I feel like everyone knows what it looks like, but I want to cover all of my bases here, so we'll just show it. Yeah, we'll show Bone Rush, because we'd shown Power Up Punch, we've shown Close Combat, we've shown Extreme Speed. Let's just show Bone Rush really quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Yeah, this is probably the original reason. Oh, there's too many resets, because like you could Power Up Punch 4 times with, I'll just show you. I feel like, yeah, hold up. Practice options. Get myself up to level 13. Will we do it with extreme speed? Yeah. And then Bone Rush. Okay. I messed that up. Okay. So, you see the blue circle? That shows that you have an internal cooldown reset on extreme speed. So if I do that and then run through it again, it comes on cooldown. However, we gotta wait. If I do it just once, and Bone Rush, blue circle again, so I can dash through it again. And I was yamming there, so I didn't show you the second cooldown reset. I'll show it this time, as soon as this comes back up. So 1, Bone Rush, boom, boom, teleport back to the bone, I get another one. So that's basically Bone Rush, and the argument is that, like, oh, if you get the whole combo off, it's a lot of damage. Well, look at the range on this thing, man. It's not huge. And, like, yeah, I can teleport back to my bone, but I don't have a whole lot of time to do it. Like, okay, like, I timed it pretty well there. But that's like the maximum distance. Like, I'll show you how it looks like with X speed, like the maximum distance I can go. So it's like, throw that, X speeding. Okay, so like from the pit all the way to the bushes, decent amount of time. Um, I'm gonna show you with the alt. So, this is like the Infernal Combo, basically, like the most extreme speeds you can get, which would be extreme speed once, go like that, boom, boom, teleport back to your bone, alt, that resets the thing again, boom, boom. You see 14 grand damage. But I had to do a lot. You had to time any of those. Remember, in the heat of a battle, I missed one of those, combo over. Or, like, that was on one person. If I'm doing it on a whole group, if I accidentally go back to, I extreme speed twice on the same person, combo over. I can't pull it off. Since we just gone through all the sets, like, I shown you Power Punch in close combat, I showed you extreme speed with Bone Rush, showed you extreme speed with close combat. I'm gonna show you Power Up Punch with Bone Rush, and then we'll be done. And I feel like a lot of the time some people will be comboed with something like this and they'll be like, man, Lucario's unstoppable. And they really don't stop to think, like, okay, no, this player is actually pretty good. They're using the most out of their character. And, the argument then becomes, like, are you using the most out of your character? What can you, there's a whole bunch of things that you can do, for example, like with Zeraora, where, like, you can trick people where you, like, volt switch and then go score and then go right back to your volt switch original point, and, like, people will do that, like little tricks like that. Find out what are the tricks on your character. So we're just gonna practice options. Okay. Okay, so Power Up Punch doesn't even reset it all the way, just almost. Then, oop. This one's the hardest one to pull off, by the way, so give us a minute. I don't even play this build anymore, so it's like, it's been a while. We Power Up Punch. Teleport back, that's the third one. We're going to show you the Infernal Combo, basically, with this. Boom. Bone Rush. Bang, bang, bang. Teleport back to the bone. Then alt, that creates 4 hits. And super boosted. Boom. About 14,000 damage. So it's like both builds do the same amount of damage. It's not one build over the other. It's just about skill. Whether you want, to be hitting multiple enemies or one enemy, because Power Punch, one enemy, extreme speed, potentially as many as are there. Extreme speed with close combat, that's the one that's best for healing. Extreme speed with Bone Rush, that's the best one for mobility. Power Punch with Bone Rush, I would say that one's like, the best of both worlds kind of thing, where you want mobility but you want damage, and then close combat Power Punch, just pure damage. So there's different kinds of play styles. Whatever Lucario you're facing has to pick which play style they want before they start anything. So, like, they're not mindless. And, long story short, I gave that's pretty much everything I have to say about it for now. Please give this video a like. I know it was really long, but I had a lot of thoughts on Lucario, and, if you have any comments or any suggestions in terms of, like, just content, something I might have said that might have been wrong, please just drop a comment, drop a like, I'll be sure to read them. And this is Flinchwave. See you on the next one.